Alrighty. So this is going to be the first time I've ever uploaded anything to this channel since 2018, I believe. Yeah, it's going to be a live/blind review of Cosmonaut Variety Hour and his most likely Tismic take on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Joined here with Tanner. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good tonight. Work and everything's done, so I've got plenty of free time.
Perfect. Yeah, I just got off work myself, and yeah, let's see this. I hesitate to say shit because I haven't seen it, but it's Cosmonaut, so yeah.
Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I love anime, and more specifically, I love shonen anime. If there's a popular shonen series out there, I probably have an opinion on it, but there's one series that I have a very complicated relationship with. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I do not particularly like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and this is something that surprises people. Because we all know how JoJo's fans are. I'll be on a stream or something and someone will say, "Hey Marky, you like anime? You should watch JoJo's." And I'm like, "I don't like JoJo's." And they're like, "What the fuck? Why don't you like JoJo's?" No, I don't like JoJo's. I don't know. People just hate that I don't like JoJo's. So I'll tell you why, okay?
I love how he does like the whole like, "Oh, why don't you hate it?" retarded voice, but it was legitimately like, why? Like, do you like JoJo? He said no. Cut to comment. That was like, why is it everybody that tries to get him to watch JoJo? Like,
yeah, he didn't actually cut to the clip of like the exact person's of somebody even saying like if everybody says it, it should be really easy to find a clip or a picture of somebody actually saying, "Why don't you like JoJo's?" and being all aggressive about it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, he shows the meme side for the bad side of the fandom, because like the memes are widespread, but that's due to like so many different things. Just the fact that everything is so memeable, and it is literally a bizarre adventure. There's tons of different things that happen that are crazy.
What was it? 84 when Part 1 came out, the manga.
Yeah,
this is a very old series.
Basically, during the time of like the old timey action heroes, which is why it's partially based off of stuff like that. You can see some influences from old timey action films in Part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be a well-formulated argument. This isn't a persuasive essay or anything. I'm not trying to convince anyone not to like JoJo's. This is just my super specific, super personal reasoning as to why I don't like it. So just consider this a Cosmonaut rant. The name needs work, all right? Back in the before times when I was in college, I had a lot of free time. I hadn't really started my YouTube channel for real, so most of my time was spent watching anime or reading manga. And I remember I heard that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was finally getting an anime adaptation, and I'd played the old Capcom fighting game, and I knew some old ancient memes about the series, but I never started it. That new anime looked neat, so when the first episode of JoJo's aired, I watched it. And I liked it. So much, in fact, that I decided to just go ahead and read the rest of the manga. So here's the first distinction that I should make. All of my feelings about JoJo's are mostly in regards to the manga. Whenever I start a new series and I am given the choice to pick between the anime or the manga, I usually pick the manga, but that's just me. While there are exceptions, I do find the manga to be the purest form of that author's creative vision, so I usually like it more. And now I'm among the 3 people in the world that are actually perfectly fine with Part 1 of JoJo's. It's kind of cute and quaint, and even though it's ripping off like a million different series, it still kind of has its own unique personality.
Well, it's not a ripoff then. Like, if you're taking inspiration from a bunch of things, but you have your own thing to provide to it, it's not a ripoff.
I'm pretty sure he says it's a ripoff, and then the exact next sentence he says it has a unique feel. Those two things are incongruous with each other.
I was like, how did you do that? How did you contradict yourself within the span of half a second?
And so, like, the old JoJo's is just that. It's really old JoJo's. And then, like, not everybody has, like, a problem with the first part of JoJo's. The main problem that I feel a lot of people have with the first part of JoJo's is what I think Ace or somebody else said that in the Discord server earlier, that like they felt it was really slow, which I can see absolutely for the first like 3-ish episodes. The main stuff that happens is like you're introduced to Dio and you realize that Dio is a really bad person.
Mm-hmm.
and you get a teeny bit of characterization for Dio, but not a ton in the beginning. But I think that most people are like fine with JoJo's, especially if you tend to look at it as kind of like a product of its time more, because it's very much a time capsule back into like that era of writing and how things were. Big buff people who were extremely righteous, doing the right thing and coming out on top, you know?
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest influences for the first part of JoJo was Fist of the North Star, and that is that entire series in a nutshell.
Overall, I found part 1 to be an acceptable introduction. It's also not very long, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. I figured the series has a lot of room to grow, and it drew me in and got me excited to read actual good JoJo's next.
Ooh. If he likes JoJo and hates everything, I'm probably going to have some words to say about him if he doesn't like Joseph.
So when I got to part 2, I got exactly what I wanted. It was such a dramatic improvement over part 1, and I love that the new protagonist, Joseph, was the complete opposite of our last hero, Jonathan. And it was just a lot of fun watching a silly man go on a bizarre adventure. This was everything that I imagined back when I heard about JoJo's in my...
bizarre, to be fair.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the first one was pretty bizarre as well.
I mean, you know, there's an English kid who kicks a dog in the face, and then that English kid takes a mask
and stabs himself with it.
Yeah. And then he gets vampire powers, and then a guy learns how to channel sunlight by breathing properly because a guy poked him in the...
Yeah, after the guy punched a tree frog to prove a point.
Yeah, and poked him up to the elbow in his stomach with his pinky finger in front of his girlfriend.
It's pretty great.
And niche internet anime circles. However, some things still didn't totally vibe with me 100%. For one, I don't really care for the way Araki writes characters. While I love Joseph, I can't say I feel anything for anybody else. When characters die, I feel nothing. Their backstories are bland, if they even have backstories, and
he says while showing Caesar's backstory.
Yeah, so like I very much disagree with him about the character writing, especially when it comes to part 5 and part 4, where part 5 and part 4 are all about fleshing out the world and the characters. I could agree with him a little bit on part 3, but not even on part 2. Because a lot of people love the characters in part 2, such as Caesar. A lot of people, like, Caesar's death is like a huge moment for some of my friends at my work that I've been getting into JoJo's. They said that Caesar's death like really affected them and stuff. And so Caesar definitely has like a large amount of character development. He worries about Jojo whenever they're climbing the oil tower. I forgot the exact name of it.
It's the Hell Climb Pillar.
Yes, exactly. He worries about Jojo all the time during that. He's a bit of a womanizer throughout the thing. He has multiple different like facets to his character. There are different things to go along with him. And then Lisa has her own stuff. Me being a martial artist, I actually hate Lisa as a teacher. She's the worst kind of teacher. She just like no joke. She has a new student come to her and she throws him into something that she believes will kill him. It is a sensei or a teacher's job to take care of their students and nurture them on the level that they are capable of. Not to just try and kill them.
I've had boxing lessons too, and I'm like, yeah, that's not how my teacher taught me how to do.
Yeah,
he didn't throw me in the ring with fucking Mike Tyson on my first try.
That's pretty much what she did. Yeah, but like a lot of people really like her due to how they tie her back into JoJo and how they characterize her as well, and how she's very harsh and very dominant towards everybody else in her teaching style. I mean, there's definitely a lot to each character in JoJo's, and there's a lot more that you can do if you go on the deeper level and start to analyze like movements and other such and facial expressions, not just like their broad actions. Especially with Dio in part 1. Dio has quite a bit of good characterization and small animation moments in part 1.
Absolutely.
Personalities are just not very engaging most of the time. The Pillar Men were threatening, but they weren't nearly as fun to watch as Dio from...
Huh?
What? Dude,
what?
Oh my gosh.
Like, okay, we have Wamu who lost an arm and like to like free himself of emotion so he could fight better. He had a full-on like baby cry in the middle of a fight.
Yes, exactly. So like I think I don't remember if it was WAMU or ACDC. I believe it was ACDC. Whenever Cars, his literal boss, steps into his shadow, like whenever we are literally meeting him, he lashes out at him. Like there's so much crazy stuff going on to intrigue you in the very first bit. I don't know if he like wasn't paying attention or just like what he doesn't find interesting about it. Hopefully he goes a little more into that.
It's like, and into the whole shadow thing, when WAMU did that, he was expecting like to get killed or punished in some way.
And then Cars
was like, no, I stepped into your shadow. That's my fault. You did nothing wrong. Like, how is that not like a good like characterization, like building the foundation of their relationship? Like
it was a very good beginning to the characters and the relationship. I wish we had gotten more to it, obviously, but that was a very solid foundation to start from. Because that was like a 1 to 2 minute period where we got all that characterization in. Maybe it was more like 10.
From the previous adventure. But hey, I kept going because I knew Dio was going to come back. And after all, I'd seen so many people claim that part 3 is where JoJo's really starts.
No, they're wrong. It's part 2 where JoJo starts.
So I figured it was all uphill from here. But I was wrong. Because part 3, kind of stinky. I think.
Whoa. Whoa.
I would say that there is like 1 or 2 things in part 3 that is kind of stinky, but like as a whole, part 3 is really solid.
Like the only thing I don't like is the guy with the Osiris stand, because that's like a little pedo-ish. I didn't like that.
I thought it definitely made me uncomfortable, but I'm certain that is what they were going for.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, Araki, no. It was
kind of, I'm pretty sure that was inspired. Just from like the fact that, he has an axe, he's trying to kill a kid. I'm certain that it was inspired by The Shining,
Oh, absolutely,
which is definitely off-putting to most people. I think they were going for more of a horror style in that episode, which I think they nailed it, definitely. But it definitely made me uncomfortable.
Look, the only thing I really don't like is the whole Avdol death fake out thing.
That is, the Avdol death fake out is kind of actually like, it's really ambiguous, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it because of like what the exact power of the Hail to You stand was. Because like I couldn't tell if he actually did grant Polnareff's wish of bringing Avdol back to life, but he brought Avdol back to life and gave like some sort of reasoning and basically like made the others retroactively know. So like he actually like changed the past, if you know what I mean, as well as changed Jotaro and Joseph's memory along with that. I'm not certain because he was able to bring the sister back to life. Granted, she was twisted and like evil. Yeah, it's really ambiguous, and I really wish we had gotten a lot more about that specifically in that stand's power.
But honestly, like the whole thing is weird because the explanation for that is like, well, we didn't want the enemies to find out that Avdol was healing, but then Kakyoin gets his eyes scratched out, and he's just chilling in a hospital. And like, he comes back at the end, and like, no, there's no problem. Like they didn't have to do the whole. We didn't see Kakyoin dressed as his dad, lamenting the death of his son just for him to come back.
Yeah, and it's a little bit weird. I mean, I'd have to think through the arguments about that because I'd never thought about that one specifically. Because like you could make the argument that maybe the stand users. Well, no, because Kakyoin would have gone to Dio, so Dio would have known who Kakyoin is and what he looks like, and so he could have given people.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Kakyoin had one of the forehead squids.
Yeah. So
Dio absolutely knew who Kakyoin was.
He absolutely knew who Avdol was too. I think maybe that that hospital had at least a couple of the Speedwagon Foundation members in it, and maybe only they were looking after Kakyoin. Could have definitely been explained a little more, but there's room to interpret.
Yeah.
I think it has most things that I hate in a long-running shonen series. It's bloated and super long for no reason, and again, the characters are just not doing it for me.
Define bloated and long.
Because like 40-ish episodes is pretty quick. At least whenever I compare it to like my favorite arc of all time, the Chimera Ant arc from Hunter x Hunter, which is almost 70 episodes for the whole thing. It's somewhere like 62 to 65, I think. I don't remember the exact count. Yeah, especially since. Go on.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that the whole thing, like it's too long. Like the only time something is too long and bloated is when they're like dragging out specific things, and I can't think of a single thing that did that in part 3.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, part 3 doesn't even do what like One Piece does in some scenarios, where it like replays part of the previous episode as like the first 2 or 3 minutes of its own episodes. In those cases, you can absolutely make an argument that it's bloated and it's dragged out. But I don't really know that they were dragging out much in part 3. I'd need to see specific arguments and specific parts brought up. Because another one of my friends, he despises JoJo's for whatever reason, and so he made the argument that one of the arguments that he made is, why are there as many fights as there are in part 3?
Huh?
And I know, right? It was a super weird argument. And so he said the number of fights in part 3 is arbitrary. And I said, not exactly. There's pretty much always a fight where 1, there is a stand, like the stand's power allows there to be a fight there, or 2, whenever they're in some sort of like big city or in some sort of significant location.
Like, well,
because most of the time there are fights in towns.
Then the entire point is the Stardust Crusaders are specifically going to fight Dio, and Dio knows that they're coming for him. So he's going to try and whittle their numbers down while he continues to try and take over Jonathan's body so he can be at full power.
Exactly. One of that guy's other arguments was he thought that stands could only follow the tarot cards, which is inaccurate even from the beginning, because Avdol himself, who introduces the idea of the tarot cards, says, my stand suggests. I looked back at the line. It specifically says, my stand suggests that of the magician, not even is. So like it's not, the show itself wasn't even requiring that, but that's off topic.
Yeah.
Except this time, the main character doesn't have the fun charisma that the last JoJo had. Yeah, Jotaro is like a cool guy, but he kind of falls flat in this story. There really just aren't enough.
How?
I really do wonder, because Jotaro has like a lot of really good one-liners. There are a lot of the other characters that are much more energetic and upbeat to fill in that position for him, I guess. It's I don't know what he means. He'd have to be more specific, like Cosmonaut does in most of his videos.
Traits or characteristics to get me invested in him as the main character. If I look past the fact that he's just like really cool and edgy, then he's got nothing. And it's not like the other character.
No. Why? How? Huh? What?
So give me 1 sec. I gotta get some of my brother
problem.
real quick.
No problem.
Here. So what was it that he just said? He said Jotaro has nothing besides the fact that he's cool. In the very beginning of the story, they establish, as well as even later on in the story, whenever he's talking to his grandmother, in the very beginning of the story, his mother is like ever so slightly pale from what she usually is. And Jotaro specifically asks her, while holding her hand, you look slightly pale today. Are you feeling okay? Showing that he very obviously does care for his mother and has a lot of attention to detail on her, as well as her health. It's just that he acts that way because he's a brash teenager who wants to act out. Look at the size of that man. The amount of testosterone that must be going through his body, all the teenage hormones, must be crazy.
It's like, shit, you got Joestar genes on top of being a teenager? Fucking hell.
I know, right? They're massive.
No, like, this is the same man who was the grandson of a guy who suspected that a vampire was coming after him, so he pulled out a Tommy gun and opened fire on the cafe.
What a Chad.
Absolutely. So, yeah, like, and like you're saying, like, that was a very subtle thing. Like, we were introduced to Jotaro, like, calling his mom a bitch. The exact next day, he notices very, very slight fluctuations in her health. And is worried.
It's very obvious that he cares about her. And with the way that he speaks to his grandmother, Suzuki, later on, it's very obvious that he cares about her as well. He obviously cares about his family, otherwise he wouldn't be going on this mission.
Yeah, he's trying to put up the front. So he's trying to live up to his, I assume he's living up to his size and stature and everything because people expect that of him.
Exactly.
Characters are very good either. The problem is, I think you can categorize most JoJo's characters in one of 3 slots. The funny, cowardly character.
No.
I would ask him who in part 5 even comes close to fitting that.
Like, I'm sorry, how does Polnareff right now fit that? Like
Like from the scene that he's showing is very deceptive because Polnareff in this scene isn't actually scared. I'm pretty sure he's flabbergasted about the food that he was brought.
Yeah, well, he's a super Frenchman. He is all into haute cuisine, and now he's in like a third world country and is confused about what he's eating. Like this, Polnareff is not cowardly. He showed this exact same thing when he was like, "Okay, well, where's the bathroom?" And it was just a hole in the ground. And he's like, "Oh, what the fuck."
Yeah, he tends to have like extreme reactions to stuff because like his culture. Jagger, shut up. Sorry, those are my younger brothers.
It's all right.
But so he constantly has these adverse, crazy reactions to things, mainly because, you know, as you said, he is a Frenchman. He is shown in the very beginning to have like this posh attitude. Obviously, these third world countries that have these, it's culture shock for him, really, of all things. It's culture shock.
It's like culture shock is not cowardice, but go ahead, Cosmonaut.
The calm, cool guy and the crazy murderer.
That what? Like that's oh, God.
Psycho doesn't like to murder specifically. He likes sugar cubes.
Well, I mean, he's murdering those sugar cubes.
Well, I mean,
he has two personality types for like good, like the protagonist characters and the good side characters, and then one attribute that's only for the villains in JoJo. And then there's this giant gulf where all the other characters fall into that he doesn't mention at all.
Like this character specifically, Seko, he kind of disproves the likes to murder thing. One, because obviously he's only following Chocolata's orders because he likes Chocolata as well as he wants the sugar cubes and things like that.
Then
he's very much like a dog.
He thinks Chocolata is more powerful than he is. So, you know,
exactly.
He wants to align himself with the guy who's going to win.
Of course. And so whenever Chocolata, I'm rewatching through part 5. I've only ever watched part 5 once, so I don't remember exactly what Seko says after he figures out that Chocolata dies, but I'm pretty sure that after Chocolata dies, there's some sort of phone call that Chocolata left for Seko, and that changes Seko slightly, and like he has a little bit of character development and growth. Specifically in part 5, quite a few of the villains have character development and growth during the battles, such as Pesci in the battle with Grateful Dead and Bucciarati and Fisherman. He grows quite a bit from a coward that he was before to somebody who had resolve that was shining like diamonds in his eyes, as Bucciarati said, and then from there he even reverted back to being a piece of crap in Bucciarati's eyes.
Mm-hmm. So wrong.
But sometimes the crazy murderer might turn into a funny, cowardly character.
No! No! Speedwagon is... Oh, God. Well, how? Speedwagon is not a coward. How do you say these things? Like, he is... The only reason he's not fighting is because he can't learn Hamon. Like, he wanted to learn Hamon right before this scene. Like, Zeppeli tried to hit him in the solar plexus to induce Hamon so that Speedwagon could help Jonathan. Against a fucking vampire.
Yeah, exactly. Speedwagon, I'm pretty sure the only time Speedwagon is even afraid is like the time that meme came out of, like in the manga where it says even Speedwagon is afraid or whatever.
Yeah, and that was like right when like his entire world shattered and he's like, "Oh shit, vampires are not just something in fiction. They exist." And I shot one in the head and it's not dead.
Yeah, and the fact that like the manga, the writing itself is saying even Speedwagon is afraid, it's kind of almost implying that he is the most brave out of everybody. Mm-hmm. Like it's making a point to say that even he is afraid.
Yeah, even this street hardened thug of a man who was like top dog on one of the most dangerous places in all of London, even he is afraid of what Dio's become.
Exactly.
Like, this brave guy is afraid of this thing. That means he's a coward, according to Cosmonaut. What the fuck is this? What is this video?
I mean, I'll admit it. If I came across a vampire and he was trying to kill me and my dad, I would probably be a little bit afraid. Just a little, maybe.
Yeah, but like, yeah, think again, like in Speedwagon's world, vampires were a thing of fiction, and now he's standing next to one, and it wants to kill him. It just threw a guy by the face into 3 other guys, and that body destroyed those guys and broke your arm.
Yeah, he had seen Dio take 5 bullet shots or something. Maybe it was 6. I don't remember exactly. Take 5 bullet shots, 6 bullet shots, and still stand up and come back to fighting. And after he took those bullet shots is when he actually threw that person into the other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a force to be reckoned with. And like those shots weren't just to like the abdomen or the arm or the leg. If I remember correctly, they were across the mid part of his chest, like where the lungs would be. Maybe one even hit where the heart should have been.
Mm-hmm. And Speedwagon, dead center of the forehead.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dio should have been dead. He's still alive. Like, what the fuck? Like, and after this, like Speedwagon kept following Jonathan through everything. He was there at the last fight between Jonathan and Dio, fending off vampires. All he had was a hammer.
Yeah,
and he was fighting vampires along with like 3 Hamon masters. Like,
there's a reason why a lot of people love Speedwagon. He's kind of similar to Sokka in The Last Airbender in that, like, he's the one who is the weakest, but he still tries to do the most.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And that's the closest thing you'll get to a character arc in JoJo's, because character
arcs
simply...
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
Like, so I want to also ask, where would Josuke fall under those 3 categories to him?
I guess
like Josuke doesn't like to murder. He's not funny.
I guess Josuke's the calm, cool guy, even though you say something about his hair and he will beat the dog shit out of you.
Yeah, he's definitely not calm. And he's cool in some scenarios, but in a lot of scenarios, he's just like a normal teenager.
But like Kakyoin has notable. He joined Dio because like he wanted people who understood what it was like to be a stand user.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, and he was intimidated by Dio. He went from that to risking his life to save the mom of a guy who beat the shit out of him prior. And then, like, at the very end, like, right as he was dying, he talked about, like, how, like, I had always been alone because no one could see my Hierophant green. But these 30 days with Mr. Joestar and everyone else, I finally have friends. And like his last words were begging Joseph to understand his last message so that they could defeat Dio. Not a whimper, not a begging for his life. Like, please understand what I said so you can survive. Like he went from like a very selfish, joining to be a very selfish person to like committing one of the most selfless acts in all of JoJo.
Exactly.
They do not exist in this series. Now, I've gone on record saying that you don't need character arcs to make a story good. A lot of people cite Paddington as an example of this. Paddington is the exact same character.
Yeah.
I would actually cite instead Hunter x Hunter Gon as a character who is always acts the exact same. All we really do is explore more facets of his character. So if I were to point out a character who's like phenomenal, who doesn't actually go on any character growth or anything, I'd probably say Gon from Hunter x Hunter, because the exact same morality that leads to him threatening the innocent girl, is the exact same morality he's had from the very beginning. That of pretty much a wild animal. Help those who help you, but if it's too dangerous to help somebody else, leave them.
Interesting. I don't know anything about Hunter x Hunter, so.
Oh dang!
I'll trust your word on that.
No matter what happens in the story, but the story is still good. Goku and Luffy are the most popular shonen characters ever, and they have the same outlook and personality from beginning to end. However, we do see subtle changes in their character over time. They both adapt to the world changing around them, and they let their friends in.
So they're exactly the same, except they change.
He did it again where he contradicts the exact thing that he says in the exact next sentence.
How does this man have this many subscribers? Like, how are people not picking up on this?
Influence how they grow, even if they keep the same core traits throughout the story. But in JoJo's, every single character is flat. Even the
what? He says this about Bruford, who went for They specifically bring up about how like Jonathan managed to restore some of his humanity from just being a mindless slave of Dio who wanted to kill just to kill.
Wait, is this guy a stand user or is this the
This is Bruford from part 1. One of the 2 knights that Dio resurrected.
Oh, yes. I think I remember now. Yeah, the one who had the pluck luck sword.
Yeah. The sword that he bestowed like because he recognized that Jonathan had true knightly qualities.
Dude, whenever I showed my cousin that scene, he started dying laughing when he wrote pluck on it from luck.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can understand why. But still, like before this fight, Bruford was just gonna do whatever Dio said because Dio had control over him. But Jonathan managed to restore his humanity at the end, right before he died. Like, what?
Ones that I think are decent. The only thing you might get is sometimes an evil character becoming nice. And to further show how lame and forgettable the characters are,
Oof. Woo. All right.
most of them die unceremoniously. If you don't like a series where beloved characters are unceremoniously killed, maybe.
Oh, fuck yourself. Fuck yourself. Do not ever in your life compare The Last of Us 2 to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure ever a fucking again.
Dude, he talks about unceremonious killings. I would agree that Abdul's is unceremonious, but like that was the point. This was it was to build up how intimidating Vanilla Ice is. And then like Iggy's death to Vanilla Ice is like extremely ceremonious, as well as not Abdul, Polnareff's fake out death to Vanilla Ice. That I was moved to tears whenever Iggy sacrificed himself. I was sad.
And even then, Avdol wasn't unceremonious because like Polnareff at the very end saw Avdol and Iggy. He saw their souls. They like, you got this. Keep going, Polnareff. Like before it dissipated. Like, and like you said, like the entire reason why it was such an abrupt end for Avdol was because it was to showcase.
Wait, dare I say it? It was a subversion of my expectations.
Whoa now. Whoa. Yes.
Maybe JoJo's isn't for you. I think that the previous Zeppeli deaths were fine because they motivated the hero to fight on, but part 3 is where people just start dropping like flies.
How did Avdol and Iggy dying not motivate Polnareff to fight on? How did Kakyoin's death not motivate Joseph and Jotaro to fight on? How did Joseph's death not motivate Jotaro to fight on? Like this specifically Joseph, because Joseph's soul told Jotaro, don't get pissed off. You need to think. And then when Dio drank him, Jotaro got pissed off and went in to go and punch Dio.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck?
Like Iggy's whenever he was showing part 3, literally right before this, like Iggy's death was extremely impactful to Polnareff because like it was a dare I say it was a huge character change for Iggy to sacrifice himself for Polnareff. It was, dare I say, an arc, like he was saying no characters get in the show.
Well, I mean, Iggy doesn't fall into one of the 2 characters, so that's fine.
That's true.
And it's a trend that continues throughout the series. A lot of the deaths in JoJo's are simply there for shock value, and that's
they're simply there to do the exact things you said they don't do. It's just there for shock, everybody.
I would definitely ever so slightly agree in the fact that all death in shows is supposed to be shocking. It is supposed to shock you into some emotion in some way, but it's not solely there for shock value.
Boy.
not even counting how many fake out deaths we get, but I'll get into that later. It wasn't until part 3 that I really started to notice some of this stuff. The cracks were starting to form. These are things that I did not like in previous parts, and I was hoping that maybe the story would grow out of them. And as I started seeing them more and more, I started to get kind of annoyed. But again, it took me a while to accept that. I thought that I was supposed to like part 3 because
Yeah, you're meant to enjoy a show.
Yeah,
That's
I
what-
wonder what his thoughts on was it, I think it was Darby Senior and Darby Junior, because those are like most people's favorite fights from part 3. I wonder what his thoughts on those were
Now, see,
specifically.
I'm pissed off about the Darby Senior fight because that is tailor made for Joseph to win, and he somehow lost.
I know. I was like, dude, Joseph just destroyed this man's whole career. I was certain Joseph had won.
I
Oh.
was expecting, because Joseph was all breathing all fucky, like as he was about to drop the penny. I'm like, oh, he's fluctuating it so that Darby doesn't see the hormone crackles when he's about to do this shit. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. And then like, wait, what? What? Oh, okay. I guess we're moving
Dude,
on.
you're right. He could have used Hamon to do that. That's true.
Mhm.
It depends upon what drink it was. Because I think with the soda, if you use Hamon, I think that tends to rile it up more. But
It was
it may have been
alcohol.
alcohol. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it was alcohol, it probably should have kept it together.
Oof.
That would have been pretty smart.
Yep. I'm like, oh, like we should have done the card game with Jotaro first, and then Jotaro lost. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Jotaro like barely lost, but Darby Senior was like on the edge of his seat, about to give up.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. That would have been a good. Yeah.
through osmosis, I had seen so much about it. But a lot of the middle chunk of part 3 is just so goddamn boring. The fights aren't really as creative or exciting, and
But he says in a thing where they don't fight a character, they have to outsmart this dude because the guy's just sitting back waiting for them to fry under the power of his stand.
Yeah. I would agree that they aren't nearly as creative as the other parts, but that's because this is literally the first instance in all of history of, I'm pretty sure, I might as well cover my ass. I'm pretty sure this is the only time the first time a power like this was introduced in all of writing in history, where these characters have these creative powers and they can be any power that the writer pretty much wants. This is literally the first time it's being created, and he's like, the powers aren't the most creative out there. When it's literally the first time this power system has ever been used in a show or book or series before. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more simple the first time somebody is warming up with using a writing tool.
Yeah, and this is
Even then, I wouldn't say that's executed poorly.
Like on top of that, this is a complete gear shift from the power set that Araki had created, just prior to this.
Exactly, and he was even still trying to implement that old power in some of the fights in this one, at least whenever Joseph was involved.
Mm-hmm.
And the stands are really lame in part 3, which make
I mean, like
the magnetism one's pretty cool.
The magnetism was cool. Like the only one I'll give him is the Oingo Boingo brothers, but they're meant to be jokes.
Exactly. Was it Anubis, the guy who was the horror one who like turned them into kids? That was a pretty unique power. That was pretty creative. The fact that the guy's stand can't actually do any damage, he has to like carry around an axe to kill children.
I know. Like, and that's another fight I wish Joseph was there for, just so that guy could have turned Joseph young for 5 seconds and gotten the shit beat out of him.
Dude, that would have been amazing. That would have been sick.
It's like just pull out a clacker volley out of nowhere.
I knew this would come in
because they're a
useful.
new thing, but compared to some of the stands that the enemies have in the exact same arc, the main
Is he calling the fight with Tower of Grey boring? Like
It was pretty interesting and had quite a few reasons for why Kakyoin should fight it.
Yeah, the only person who could have fought Tower of Grey better was Polnareff, and they hadn't met him yet. So this is an interesting use of Kakyoin's intelligence, and
Exactly.
he uses his stand.
And talking about like unique stands and things like that, the guy who did the little stuff, who had the yellow goop stand, that was super interesting. The idea that it just kind of consumes whatever matter it touches.
Oh, we got a new addition to the stream.
Oh, hey,
Joseph.
guys.
What's up, Joseph?
Hello.
Joseph Tanner.
Hello.
Tanner Joseph.
Nice to meet you, Joseph.
Hi, Tanner. Nice to meet you. What's going on?
So we're watching this dude have a really, really bad Tismic take on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh man,
It's not been good so far. We're only 6 minutes in on a 20-minute video.
What do you mean, man? He's only directly contradicted himself one sentence in the second sentence that he says, like 3 times so far. Maybe it was 2. I don't remember.
Yeah,
exactly.
like
He said
so.
that part 1 is wholly not unique or something like that, and then literally the sentence afterwards he says, but it has its own unique feel.
okay, okay.
It's so bad.
Like he said, like characters like Goku, it's okay to have flat arcs. Characters like Goku, they don't change at all. But like as we see them, they change ever so slightly and adapt to their environments.
So he's retarded. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Main heroes have some really lame ass powers. Jotaro's stand can punch really fast.
Yeah, Jotaro's lame power of being able to stop time.
Also, to be able to be the best finger blaster in the world.
Absolutely.
But punching hard is an awesome power. What is this guy talking
absolutely. And he liked the only thing Jonathan could really do was punch hard, and he liked part 1.
That's so
right.
True.
Oh God!
Hey! Instead of punching while time's frozen, he punched with fire on his fist. Man, it's more interesting,
Yeah, fire is more interesting than stopping time.
Has a sword.
Yeah, Silver Chariot has a sword.
I don't remember.
And he's incredibly accurate with it, and he can shoot it around corners and shit, and he can take off his armor and become even faster.
Yeah, even the very basic ones have a couple of different facets to them that allow them to be used in different unique ways during fights.
He's like totally underselling all this stuff. He's downplaying it. It's full of shit.
Dual stand can shoot fire.
Yeah, Abdul's stand can shoot fire in 1,000 different ways, detect enemies, like burn shit, melt shit. Like
it was also able to, if you remember in that very fight that he was showing, it also decided not to burn Jotaro, and it just kind of held him in place for a while, actually.
Exactly, yeah. It could use flames as a physical object. Like that's incredibly interesting.
And Kakyoin's stand can throw rocks.
Fuck off.
Yeah, it can throw rocks and turn people into puppets and become like a tentacle like barrier thing.
Yeah, it's got a large range on it, actually. It just doesn't have much physical power.
It just sounds like he has a
How
grudge.
exciting.
Like did Jojo's kill a dog or something?
Well, I mean, it isn't a Rocky creation, so that might be.
Oh.
Dang, I want an action figure of that.
Yes.
It does look pretty
I
cool.
want an action figure of Hierophant Green. What are you talking about?
The cracked, scaly, is that aquamarine or just regular green? I don't know. The greenish color. I think it looks really good with a nice pure white.
Yeah.
I was just never excited to see these heroes do anything, let alone win a fight. That is until the last few bits of part 3. The last few fights are actually kind of cool. I'd say everything from the pet shop fight.
Wait a minute. He skipped Steely Dan. He skipped Steely Dan. One of the best beatdowns in all of JoJo. He skipped that. Wow. Wow. Holy shit.
Upward is actually pretty decent. And it just shows me that this arc didn't need to be that long. I think part of the reason why I liked part 2 so much is because it wasn't really that bloated. It felt like everything was kind of there on purpose to service the story.
Everything was there on purpose. He says at a scene that could have easily been cut. We didn't need Tequila Joseph. Absolutely don't cut it. I love Tequila Joseph, but we didn't need that at all. Like,
Well, I
he
mean,
could've
it
eas-
shows him getting into the place, so I mean, like, it's kind of needed in some
Well, I
aspect.
mean, he could have. They could have easily like cut to him like sneaking up on these guys using some hormone and taking their. That could have been like a 2-second scene. But
Yeah,
we got
there are definitely different ways. They could have just had it to where he got caught instantly without the humor, and then they took him to Stroheim, their general.
I don't see
Mhm.
how
It definitely could have been cut.
I
At least
always
it could
got
have been
the
cut down.
I got the sense that the way they wrote the manga is just like stream of consciousness. It didn't seem like there was any planning. It was a lot of just there's so many curveballs. Everything's like it's crazy. Like you can't predict what's gonna happen. And
I'd say that Areki probably had like a general outline, but for the most part, I'd probably say that that's how most of the in between stuff was written.
Yeah, because the way that it twists and turns, there's no way he could have planned that. It's madness. It's chaos.
Mhm. Yeah, I think one of the things he had planned was that Whole Horse would have been one of the Stardust Crusaders, and he just axed that immediately.
Yeah, so like it was after I think I had read some sort of interview where after Whole Horse's first introduction, people really wanted him to join the crew, but he felt, and he liked Whole Horse himself, if I remember correctly, but he didn't want Whole Horse to join the Stardust Crusaders just because of the fact that they already had like Jotaro is kind of like a heavily Western inspired character. He thought that it would have kind of overpowered the cast as well, having somebody who can shoot bullets that can move however they want them to. At least I think that was what I remember from the interview. I could be misquoting it or misremembering it.
Whole Horse and Sex Pistols Requiem.
Yeah.
I feel like it didn't really waste your time too much. And in part 3, it really does waste your time. But I gotta say, the last battle in part 3 is pretty fucking good. It's probably the best fight in the entire series. It's so good that it...
It's pretty epic.
Yeah.
I don't know about the best though. There's some pretty.
I definitely wouldn't call it the best, but it's definitely like on the emotional scale, it's really high up there.
Mm-hmm.
Almost tricked me into forgetting that I did not enjoy a majority of the rest of the arc, but nothing could truly make me forget that slog. So when I ended Stardust Crusaders, I was really not that excited to read more JoJo's. I think at this point, I started to feel the burnout just a little bit. And I heard that part 4 was like kind of low stakes and more akin to a slice of life series. And I thought the new characters looked kind of lame.
Dude, saying that JoJo's characters look lame.
What?
Wow. I would have to heavily disagree with that.
These are some of the most unique characters in all media.
I have to say, my initial impression of these designs was they looked a little low T compared to the previous iterations, but they grew on me as I got into it. But
yeah, there's
I still miss the hyper muscles of part 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and part
totally.
5.
I even then there's still quite a few similarities you can draw between like the character designs in part 4 were still very specifically done, specifically Josuke's. The fact that he still has the coat on, kind of like Jotaro does, and then his chest is also opened up like Jotaro's, but it's hardened into a much more heart motif, which fits with the fact that his shining diamond has a heart in the middle of it, which also ties into the next character design of Giorno Giovanna, which also has a heart design in the middle. Like there are definitely quite a lot of thoughts into the character design in JoJo's, as well as Areki just likes to draw cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
Design wise, and I didn't think this new adventure could really hold my attention, but boy was I wrong, because part 4 is the best part in JoJo's.
Oof. Excuse you.
I really like
Steel Ball Run is the best part. Fuck,
I have not read the manga, so please don't spoil it. But from what I've heard, Steel Ball Run sounds like amazing, like genuinely perfect. From what I've heard, it sounds like it's going to be his magnum opus.
Oh yeah. So far, yes. I'm still just barely getting into JoJo Leon, but Steel Ball Run. Ooh, mwah, magnifique.
Yeah. From what I've heard, it's going to be amazing.
I haven't read any of the manga yet.
Ooh, you gotta.
Everything that people love about JoJo's is here, and it's strongest in Diamond is Unbreakable.
Which is weird because, in my opinion, Diamond is Unbreakable has a lot of stuff that you could absolutely just cut out.
Oh yeah,
you could definitely cut it out, especially if you're only wanting to focus on like the big bads of the series. It's like there's a lot of stuff that's in between. It's basically just like this is their daily lives, and this is some sort of altercation that happens in their daily lives. You know,
you guys remember the Rohan playing rock paper scissors arc? That was
Dude,
great.
I loved that scene. I thought that scene was great. I loved the character interactions between Rohan and Josuke. How they're just like laughing, and then all of a sudden he just stabs off his finger. It was so funny.
Out of nowhere, the characters are like actually likable, and they have a tighter friendship.
The fuck do you mean actually? Define actually. Like everybody in part 3 was likable.
He says tighter friendship as he shows a girl that tries to murder her love.
Literally the worst girlfriend you could ever have, a yandere with a stand power.
But she changes in the future, you know. Yeah. But we don't pay attention to that character arc, you know.
Exactly, you know, that's fine.
Than the characters in previous parts, so they're immediately more engaging. And all the characters are pretty unique from one another because there's not too many of them, and they have some of the
What? There's
not too many characters in Diamond is Unbreakable. What the fuck are you talking about?
You're fine with the couch.
That's some bullshit.
Like we got the Silhouette, we got the Cinderella bitch, we got Sagechi, Josuke, Okuyasu, Keiicho Nijimura, fucking their dad, the fucking like lock guy, Yoshikage Kira, the girl he murdered's dog, like the wife of holy shit, like fucking Yoshikage Kira's dad, an actual alien, a guy who lives.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that alien guy.
That alien one was so cool.
What is this guy talking about?
There's the guy who has to stand on his back. There's what's his name? Hayato. There's Hayato. He's very important as well. Like there's a ton of characters.
Like Diamond is Unbreakable has like the most like side characters in JoJo so far. What are you talking about?
The most fun character traits, with Rohan not only being my favorite JoJo's character, but one of my favorite shonen characters. And I love that all the characters feel like they know that they're in way over their heads, and it's fun to see.
I don't know what he means. I don't know what he means. I don't know what he means by when they know they're in way over their head. Let's just move on. I don't think he's going to substantiate that.
Them appropriately react to the insane shit that they encounter. It's called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and this is the one arc where it truly feels like a guy named JoJo is experiencing a bizarre adventure.
Okay, Jonathan was living a normal life, and then some blonde kid comes to his house, kicks his dog, poisons his dad, becomes a vampire, an Italian guy punches him in the stomach, and he gets magic sunlight martial arts. His grandson... opens fire on a guy.
Jack the Ripper.
Yeah,
Jack the Ripper jumps out of a horse.
Exactly. Exactly. And then his grandson opened fires on a guy he thinks might be a vampire.
Wait. That place is filled with innocent civilians too. He fired into a place that had civilians in it too.
Yeah. Like plants grenades on the guy, blows the thing up, and then he goes on to fight like four Aztec gods,
the classic
vampires of fitness. Like what?
the classic grenade attached to more grenades trick, you know, just as you do, as everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best.
Yeah,
I think that's my favorite.
Grenade attached to more grenades. That was so crazy.
Psych. Oh, that was the best. But yeah, like they all know that shit's weird. Like fucking Polnareff, Kakyoin looks at Polnareff when Polnareff was talking about Hanged Man and saying like, what the fuck? There's no such thing as people in mirrors. This is real life. The motherfucker had a vampire forehead squid in him. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? There can't possibly be a guy in a mirror. What are you talking about?
and acting appropriately. The fact that Josuke is a normal fucking dude is why I love him more than the other JoJos. He's the most relatable one by far, and although he doesn't...
Okay, I promise, Cosmonaut, I will never talk to you about how weird your hair looks if you find Josuke the most relatable.
I actually, so I don't know how familiar you guys are with E::R as a YouTuber, but he said something that I very much agree with about. Yeah, I think he's hilarious, and I think that he has some very, very good criticism too. There was a quote that he took from some very good writer, if I remember correctly, where the writer said, "Characters shouldn't be relatable; they should be compelling." I would say that most of the characters are compelling in some way, and I would say that Josuke, although he is very relatable, is also extremely compelling due to all the different character traits and relationships he has with people.
Relatability is overrated. Yeah, I agree.
Doesn't change much over the course of the story. He's just solid. Hell, even Jotaro is good in part 4. While his cool
Jotaro was good in part 3. What are you talking about?
guy routine wore thin on me over the course of the last adventure. In this one, he just shows up every once in a while.
Jotaro shows up every once in a while in part 4. It's not like he was the second person we saw in the series or anything. Well, just Jesus.
All right, be a badass. I think he's best used sparingly, and part 4 is proof of that. And while part 4 is a slice of life story, it's also like a supernatural murder mystery. It's a surprisingly fun premise. Being focused on a smaller scale means you get to really appreciate the quirkiness of the story. The wacky stuff isn't just weird for the sake of it, it's genuinely charming. And that's one of the biggest problems that JoJo has, in my opinion. Trying to balance wacky...
What'd you say?
Oh, I agree with that part. The villain was very, very cool in this.
Oh, yeah. I agree that the villain was great. I also like how he's at the very least saying, yeah, I was completely wrong whenever I said that this smaller scale story wouldn't... Whenever he had thought, if you remember back earlier, he said, I didn't think the story would interest me. I'm glad he's at least admitting that he was wrong about that. Yeah. Because, like, you don't have to keep raising the stakes. He could
acknowledge all the other wrong things he said.
Yeah, because, like, I hate the idea that you have to, like, always continuously raise the stakes. There has to be power creep in your story. Next time, there has to be more, you know? I hate that ideology.
Like, power creep is fine, but, like, most of the good stories and storytellers do, like, lateral movements with their powers.
Or very small upwards movements.
Yeah. They introduce like different things, people with different powers. That way, the character doesn't have to just power up. He has to think his way around it.
Oh, yeah.
With consistency. Since everything in part 4 is already kind of mundane, the weird shit stands out appropriately. It's an arc where you can have a...
Wait. I have something to say here. This is going to mainly be a joke, but he says that everything in part 4 doesn't really stand out. Cosmonaut, are you being extremely bigoted towards other cultures that we were exploring in part 3?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh, touche.
A fight just centered around rock, paper, scissors, and it's pretty exciting. One of the most iconic encounters features Jojo and Okuyatsu in a restaurant where they're just super cautious of the chef for...
Okay, I'm 100% agreeing with him. I love Tonio.
Dude, Tonio's fucking amazing.
Tonio's the best character in part 4. I love that man. He's just so pure. I love him. He just wants to make good food.
I love how whenever Josuke charged into the kitchen, he has the knife and he's just like, he just starts yelling at him, wash your hands and clean every surface that you touched in here. You idiot, you moron, you absolute buffoon.
And then Okuyasu was completely fine, even though his guts spilled all over the floor.
I know, right?
For no reason other than the fact that the story expects you to be cautious of him. And then in the end, he just turns out to be a chill guy. There's a storyline where the characters meet someone who claims to be an alien, and we never actually find out if he's an alien or not, and it's actually really fucking funny. Part 4 is perfect at balancing the mundane with the strange, and that is exactly...
What mundane is there? All we do is go from weird story to weird story in part 4.
I think that by mundane he mainly means familiar, possibly, because like it's an urban setting. A lot of people have grown up in an urban setting. Maybe he did too. So maybe that's what he means by mundane. Because like the world itself is absolutely not mundane. Like there are a lot of different snippets that we get of like the world itself, such as the Angelo Rock, the spires that bounce back or whatever. I'm pretty sure there was like another 2 or 3 that I'm missing currently, of just like crazy things that happen specifically in Morio. The alleyway,
Mhm.
that's 3 of them. I'm pretty sure there's another 1 or 2 that I don't remember exactly.
What JoJo's needs. Also, I'll say as far as the manga is concerned, this is where Araki's style really grew on me. It's not easy to convey some of the shit that JoJo's has in 2D black and white, but Part 4 has the most consistent art up to this point. I just overall love Part 4. This is where I finally realized that I might actually like this series. It seemed like Araki realized what made previous parts good and bad and took those things to grow as an author and an artist. Diamond is Unbreakable is the only time that I did not want a JoJo's arc to end. I genuinely wanted to keep enjoying adventures with these characters, whereas in previous
Which is weird
arcs,
because there's
I was
about like 40-ish episodes in this show as well. In this part as well as in part 3, I'm pretty sure there's pretty close to a similar amount of episodes.
Yep. And a lot of them could be cut because they're just doing random things that don't progress the overarching
Yeah, it's
Yoshikage
just
period
kind of like
plot.
it's just kind of like slice of life stuff, yeah.
Which was his critique of part 3, but apparently that doesn't apply because he likes part 4. Yay.
Because despite the fact that in part 3 you don't feel, I guess, them making as much progress because you yourself probably haven't traveled from those places from Japan to Egypt like on foot and stuff like that. You probably don't feel their progress as much, I guess, is a charitable way to interpret what he's saying, maybe. Because like it would feel bloated, I guess. I don't know. I'm speculating a little too much.
fine with moving on. But still, after part 4, I was hyped to keep going. I was on cloud 9. I wanted more JoJo's, and I really fucking hate part 5.
Wait, can you pause it real quick?
Ooh.
So obviously, I've been rewatching through part 5, and part 5 is fucking phenomenal.
Yes.
And a lot of the different powers, like specifically, what is it? Specifically, Giorno's power acts differently in a lot of different situations. Such as you get a lot of different nuances to his power specifically, such as the fact that it itself will create life, but Giorno and that life, as long as it is an animal life, will reflect damage that is done upon it. Except under 2 conditions. 1, if it's a human part, it will not reflect damage because it's not an animal, it is a human. 2, the damage will not be reflected back to its user if it is Giorno's stand itself doing the damage to that animal, is another rule that we observe ourselves. It's like there are a lot of different nuances to Giorno's power that you actually have to figure out yourself, besides just the very generic thing that he tells you in the beginning that it creates life. It's very interesting to find how the power works, because from what I've seen so far, it reacts differently in a lot of different scenarios, but it never contradicts how it acted in previous scenarios.
And this is like the first time we've seen a stand user protagonist that doesn't have an offensively powerful stand.
Yeah,
so Jono has to get incredibly creative throughout the series to use gold experience properly.
That's very true. I also want to ask you guys, since we had just seen the opening of Great Days, what is your guys' favorite JoJo's opening?
Break down. Oh, you're killing me here. That is a tough one.
I really like almost all of them, but Great Days is probably my favorite just for how amazingly the visuals and lyrics go along with like the themes of the story and what's going on in it. I fucking love Great Days.
I think Great Days is the one, but everything else is like super thinner than a hair close.
Yeah, what about you, Joseph?
Oh yeah, Great Days has got to be up there, probably number 1.
So what do you guys think might be?
You mean the worst? Chase. Easily Chase.
I think he muted himself.
Oh, did you?
Somebody. Did he mute himself?
My headphones came unplugged. That was my bad. But I actually really like Chase as well. But I think Sonochino Sadame has to be my second. I think Chase actually gets a bad rap from most people. I've heard a lot of people say they don't like Chase.
I know it's a purely subjective thing for me. I'm like, it seems too generic shonen anime intro-ish to me. Like all the other ones are like super unique and like, but that one's like,
dude. Whenever I saw the ending in the opening in part 3, where like Dio freezes time for a second, I was wigging out, dude. I was freaking out the first time I saw that. It was so crazy to me. I'm surprised that he didn't like comment on that or anything on part 3, especially. So I think that's like one of the huge strengths of JoJo's is its openings and endings.
Oh yeah, man, Dio's cool. Dio's fucking awesome.
Dio was so cool.
Worth it for the memes alone.
We got 2 of them in part 7.
And I feel like I'm in an alternate dimension because back in my day, everybody I knew hated part 5 because it's garbage.
What? No, like people don't.
Back in your day, he read.
Back in whose day? What the fuck are you talking about? Wasn't Golden Wind or Vento Reo done in like 2001?
I don't know the exact date of Vento Oreo and when it was made and stuff, but he's saying back in my day, everybody hated part 5. I don't know if he's just talking about like rumors he heard on the internet or stuff, but like most people seem to really, really like part 5.
Yeah, like the part that most people hate
is 6, to my knowledge.
6, yeah. And honestly, 6 is the one that gets the bad rap.
It's one of the messiest shonen storylines I've ever read. And
the storyline is very simple.
It's pretty focused.
Giorno doesn't like drug dealers because it's ruining the city he loves. Bruno doesn't like it either. Like he can't go to the cops because he knows just how easily the cops can be bought off.
Because he himself has bought them off.
Yeah. So like, his only way of doing that is to get to the top of the mafia and control the drug trade that way. And then he does it. That is a very simple plot line.
Maybe he'll substantiate what he says here in a second.
This is Cosmonaut Variety Hour. He's not going to do that.
Yeah, doubt it.
Hey, he's got like 8 minutes left for part 5.
Bad translations. Bitch, I went through it again to see if I was just imagining how bad it is. No, part 4 is still good with...
How bad...
Dude, that art's so beautiful.
How bad... Like, I went through it to read how bad it was. He said on a frame of Mista, like, against...
Dude, in the anime, that scene was so good. That scene was so good.
Exactly. Like, and people meme about Mista shooting himself, but like, what kind of balls do you have to know that the only way you can beat this guy is to like incrementally fire at him to push him back to try and
centimeter
get
by centimeter.
The one weak point in the back of his neck, and you know you're gonna take bullets to do it, but you do it anyway.
His, as you might say, his resolve was shining upon the path to take. Dude, that line
bad
is
translations.
So,
so this is not an excuse. Part 5 has everything that I hated in previous JoJo's parts, but amped up to 11. The characters are whack.
What does that mean? Calm and cool.
It's just like your opinion, man.
He says about Giorno, who has the longest beatdown of an enemy in most of anime. Like, he called a guy a piece of shit. He planted a rhinoceros beetle in a guy's head. And knew that he wasn't
going to... He murdered Popo.
Yeah. Like, he turned a gun into a banana just so he could kill a guy because his stand killed some innocent old man.
He got scared and nervous whenever he first met Boo Charity. He was quite scared and afraid whenever he first saw Notorious B.I.G. He was off-put. Like, he's not simply calm and cool. Even along with that, he has more to him than just that.
Yeah. It was like, even when he basically won, he had Gold Experience Requiem. Like, you can say he was calm, but he was incredibly angry. He was seething with rage at Diavolo. We know this because
he spawn camped him, dude. He spawn camped him.
For all of eternity.
Calm, cool guy. Calm, cool guy.
No! What the fuck?
What the?
At Fugo, the guy that was introduced by him stabbing a fork in his friend's face because the friend got a math problem wrong. What?
The guy who beat a professor possibly to death, or at least into a coma, because the professor was... I mean, it's... At least in the anime, it's a bit up to interpretation exactly what was going on, but my assumption was that the professor was having sex with Fugo or something, or fellatio or something like that with Fugo, and giving Fugo good grades for it. Fugo nearly beat the guy to death.
Mm-hmm. Like
Fugo's stand is a literal incarnation of like his seething rage and stuff on the inside. Like they say it explicitly in the show.
That's what Abakio said to Giorno. Like, how do you fuck that up? How do you miss that? Like the one fight that Fugo was in, they explained how he is. Jesus Christ.
Calm, cool guy.
No!
Bucciardi is just a good dad.
Yeah, Bucciardi
is such a good dad.
Calm and cool is what he has to portray himself as in order to be an effective leader for his men, especially in the situation, the incredibly dangerous situation that he got them into. But
even then, in this scene that he is showing right here, he has a ton of self-doubt. He's worrying. He's not calm and cool.
Like you can tell on his face that he's worried. Right here.
This is the scene where he's trying to find the turtle.
Mm-hmm.
Funny coward.
Narancia is not a coward. What the fuck? How is Narancia a coward? Like he had a guy shrink him down to the size of an ant, and he kept fighting.
He said that he wouldn't kill out his friends. He was literally about to be his insides were about to be liquefied while he was paralyzed by a spider, and he would not back down. Like,
did he actually watch the show?
Dude, this is a common question with Cosmonaut.
Like, did you actually watch the thing?
Was he high?
That you're reviewing?
Wait. My younger brother has seen Jojo, so let me ask him this. Jager, would you describe Fugo, the guy who has Purple Haze as his stand in Part 5, would you describe him as calm and cool? He's shaking his head no.
Just like silence, like what the fuck? Oh god.
Giorno is a joke. He's the worst JoJo by far.
Oof.
F for my man Giorno. He said it, so it must be true.
Yeah.
Can we get some Fs in the chat?
He's absolutely the worst based on all the things I'm not going to quantify ever.
Exactly. At least give us your standards for best or worst.
Mm-hmm.
If it's simply based off of like how much I liked him, then like tell us at the very least what you didn't like about him.
I mean, he is the son of Dio, but he's got like the perfect amalgamation of Jonathan and Dio's qualities.
Pretty much exactly.
Even people who like Part 5 agree with me.
Name them. Everyone who likes Part 5 likes Giorno. Like, but there are some like standout characters, just like in Part 3. People really love Polnareff and Kakyoin. Like in Part 5, people really like Bucciardi.
Yeah, who are your guys' favorites in Part 5?
Absolutely Bucciardi. Bucciardi and Mista.
Okay, I have to admit I haven't finished watching Part 5 yet, so I can't.
Okay, we should not spoil you. We should.
It's
where
fine.
Exactly
I don't care. I don't care about spoilers. It's fine.
You still should watch it though. It's incredibly awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna get around to it eventually.
If you ask me, Giorno and Bruno should be merged into one character. Bruno is the more compelling character with the more interesting stand and more stake in the act.
What the fuck do you mean interesting? Sticky Fingers is a cool stand, but like it's more offensively capable than Gold Experience. But Giorno's still there fighting with the best of them.
Giorno's healer / support.
Yeah. It's one of the most intrinsic things to any group.
And like
Actual story.
Oh, good.
he said that Bucciarati has more of a stake in the story. When like Bucciarati and Giorno both kick off the story together, Giorno arguably a teeny bit more than Bucciarati, but they both have, I would say, about an equal stake in the story and wanting to see the outcome that happens.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
Bucciarati hates drugs too.
yeah, like he's seen what drugs can do to people. Like the people that he's supposed to be, you know, like helping as a
What happens to the family members, the people he's supposed to be protecting, specifically the grandmother in the beginning, whose son starts to beat her because he's been on drugs and stuff like that. He's not in his right mind. There's also his father, whose murder was attempted. That's the way to put it. Whose murder was attempted because he'd seen a drug deal. They both have a huge stake in it. It's crazy.
Giorno is just a guy. Even the fact that he
But I thought you liked that when characters are just a guy. That's what you said you liked about Josuke.
Yeah.
Like
That's a good
Josuke is
point.
just a guy. I like him. I hate Giorno because he's just a guy. What?
he's Dio's son goes completely unused in the story. He could just as well be some random dude and nothing would change.
No, we wouldn't.
The point they use Dio's son is one, so that he would have a stand.
Mhm.
Two, so that we could explore a character who has, as you said earlier, pretty much the best of both worlds of Jonathan and Dio. Like, there are two main reasons for that. There's also a lot of the mannerisms that he gets from Dio. It's a little bit fan servicey, but it's fine fan service. It makes sense.
And honestly, all of this shit he's saying about Giorno could easily apply to Josuke. More so because Josuke's mom was just some chick that Joseph got drunk and nutted into one night when he was having some business dealings. Didn't even know Josuke existed. Right?
Yeah.
I can't even name a single character trait for Giorno. He's the only.
You said cool and calm earlier. Shut the fuck up,
he's
idiot.
cool and calm. Like, oh my God. Like, Josuke or Giorno, he is like the perfect, like Han Solo-esque, thief with a heart of gold kind of guy.
Yeah, he wants to become a gang star, not a gangster, a gang star.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like he's absolutely okay with all of the shit that mafiosos do, except for the indiscriminate targeting of weak people, children, the elderly, people who are down on their luck, which is what the drug trade thrives on. Like
it's very noble.
Yeah, it's a very honor among thieves kind of guy.
Only Jojo that I can say that about. And I should point out that Araki's writing in part 5 is absolute garbage. Oh shit, I made one of the main characters too strong. Oh well, he's out of the story. He flew.
Explain to me
for his own reasons.
Explain to me what the fuck Purple Haze would do to King Crimson. Like Purple Haze's most powerful ability is the virus it released from the capsule.
I'm pretty sure you still have to breathe that virus in, if I remember correctly.
Well, I mean,
Echo.
The crows, I believe, they just flew through it. But you might be right; they might have inhaled when that happened. So I'm not.
I believe that you have to inhale the virus, if I remember correctly. And then it'll start eating away at your metabolic functions, or something like that is what it says. Seko could very easily get away from it because that virus can't travel underground. So Seko could very easily just like pop out or do what he did to Bucciarati, where he spits all the stuff up in the air and it becomes like steaks as it comes down because it hardens while it's up there since it's too far away from his power. Seko would destroy him.
Yes.
Metallica would destroy him.
Metallica's an absolutely long range chance. What's up?
Did you notice there's we got someone in the chat?
Oh shit!
Who do we have in the chat? Let's go.
Zach Hawkins, what's up, brother? Hey, how you doing?
How are you doing?
Friend of yours?
Yeah, Zach Hawkins was one of the fans of the old Turbo Live.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Cosmonaut has ever actually watched any show, you
No,
know, that he's reviewed.
I don't think so. Like, it's starting to look that way. But I'm like, seriously, how is Fugo too powerful compared to King Crimson and Epitaph? Like, King Crimson's ability is that it can like warp around you. Like Epitaph allows Diablo to see in the future and avoid punches. Like, and Purple Haze's main ability is that he has to release a virus by breaking the capsules, which he does by punching primarily.
And even after that, I believe they state in the episodes with the mirror guy that it takes about 30-ish seconds for it to shut down people's metabolic functions. So even if you do get the virus in you, you can still kill Fugo in the amount of time before the virus kills you.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the virus will stop, but at the very least, you'll take out your target.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Wenger is in the chat.
What's up, Wenger? Wenger, how you doing, man? I'm sorry, this is my first time. This is my first time. I don't know.
Wait, that's
his
that's
home
the
planet.
private chat.
But that's an
There's
easy
There's the actual chat.
Yes, there are two chats.
Oh yeah, I got the.
Yeah, I was looking at the private chat. That's my fault.
Okay.
Right? No, everybody talks about that. Fugo gets kicked out of the story, and it's really stupid, but you're not supposed to talk about that.
No, it's absolutely incredibly smart. They don't know. Like, does he understand what they fucking experienced leading up to this? They go to where Diavolo is, and then time gets all kinds of fucky around them for no explanation in their mind. And then their leader gets a hole punched in his chest.
If I remember correctly, Fugo's main reason for not wanting to go with him is because he feels like almost betrayed by Bucharity. He had a slight misconception about Bucharity's personality, believing that Bucharity like mainly was loyal to the organization, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what led him to be disenfranchised with Bucharity, because he respected the organization a lot. So he viewed Bucharity's betrayal as something that he couldn't go along with.
Yeah.
Especially since, Fugo's yelling, hey, they're going to kill you. They're too powerful, blah, blah, blah. He's afraid as well.
Yeah.
So he's afraid, so he's obviously not calm and cool. Oh my gosh.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah. Like all the villains that they had fought up until that point were the it was the assassin of La Squadra, right?
La Squadra and the two random thugs in the beginning.
Yeah.
The paper guy and the stop and place guy. That power was so cool, by the way. I love that.
Oh yeah,
power.
Kraftwerk was awesome, yeah.
Kraftwerk was great.
But like, yeah, those were just rogue elements of Passione. Bucharity has put them up against the entirety of Passione, including their boss, whose powers they just experienced and do not understand.
And Bucharity had literally said he's invincible. We cannot beat him as we are now.
Mm-hmm. And he told them, if you want to stay, I won't blame you.
Yes, exactly. Because as soon and Bucharity says this himself, as soon as you step on this boat, you're a traitor.
Like, and a guy as smart as Fugo, he's like, okay, too many variables, too many people, too many variables for us to have any chance of winning. So him staying behind makes perfect sense. It's not because he's too powerful, because King Crimson could get around Purple Haze easily.
Yeah, Fugo is also like super smart, which is why he's thinking through all the logical things. He's like, obviously we're gonna die because of blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
He's not an idealist like most of the rest of them.
Because that's too easy. All right, well, how come the main villain is revealed so late into the story? Because at this point, you don't have enough time to become invested.
Because he's the leader that they didn't know that he was going to be the main antagonist until he tried to murder his daughter.
Let me explain something to Zach real quick. This guy that he's talking about, the main villain, the main thing that we know about the boss until we actually know his identity is literally that all he wants to do is hide his identity from everybody. And so figuring out the boss's identity is literally one of the main plot points of part 5. Like, he's like, why did we figure out the identity of this person we didn't know when the whole show is about trying to figure out their identity? What? Oh, I hate
Next
this
he'll
so
say he's
much.
only pretending to be retarded.
Why did it take them so long to find Red October in the hunt for Red October? Like, well, like the hunt is kind of the main whatever.
Oh yes, but actually no.
Invested in him, and that sucks because he has the most potential out of any character in this arc. JoJo's is still an action shonen series, so I think it's really important to try to flesh out the villain. You know,
Diavolo is not fleshed out.
Diablo is super fleshed out.
Diavolo is not
He
fleshed out.
literally has, no joke, multiple personality disorder.
Like to the point where it affects how he looks physically.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Like
Diavolo is not fleshed out. What the fuck is Diavolo is not what? How? Huh? Like like the entire thing, like the last episode, I was talking this with some of my friends who watched JoJo, and like it is the perfect revelation that Diavolo is a fucking coward.
yes, like when he's literally begging Giorno, please give me the arrow, give it to me.
Yeah.
Hey,
Think
Giorno,
about who
give it here,
truly
please.
worthy. Yeah.
And so like the ending is also very
He's like
it's a very much a poetic irony kind of ending. I think I'm using that term correctly, because Diavolo is all about, well, like what our main group is trying to get to is the truth of the situation, the truth of Diavolo's identity. And so Diavolo is, by Giorno's power and what happens to him, never allowed to find the truth that is death.
Now, brief sidebar, I have an insane theory that the deaths that Diavolo were facing were all a result of his drug deals.
Dude, that's actually like that would make it even more poetic irony. That'd be really good.
Yeah, like an accidental, like the first one was like an accidental, like botched autopsy with someone they thought was dead but wasn't really. It was, some kind of drug overdose, some shit.
Yeah, a lot of those things could have been. Yeah, that's a good point.
The first one was some junkie getting shanked up in a sewer, little girl getting killed over a botched drug deal. Oof.
why Dio is the best villain in JoJo's.
Again,
Dio's good, but he's definitely not the best.
I'm gonna dip into some. I'm gonna dip into the manga territory. Funny, fucking
dude. I've heard
Valentine.
my president, Mr. President. Oh, Captain, my captain.
Funny Valentine.
Dude, I've heard so much good about him.
Oh, Funny Valentine is just beautiful. I love him.
The most time devoted to fleshing him out.
Again, Funny fucking Valentine. And Diavolo has more fleshing. Well, I shouldn't say that, but Diavolo has about as much fleshing out as Dio does.
I would probably agree with that, and I think that Diavolo is a lot more interesting, mainly because of the fact that he's got like two different. By the way, Jojo says it. He kind of has like two different souls in him, which is what's causing his multiple personality disorders.
Yeah, like
I think that's very interesting for a villain.
Like, and Diavolo and Dio are like the perfect like opposites to each other. Like when you look at their like last moments, like Dio was defiant to the last, secure in his superiority, and Diavolo
was groveling.
Yeah, he was groveling, begging the person in power, the person that was at the advantage, to give him the power he wanted. Yeah.
Also, why does Araki keep doing fake out deaths? When did we start thinking this is acceptable? How many times does Mista die in part 5?
None. Like, I'll give you the whole thing with the Grateful Dead that was a fake out.
Yes, that one absolutely was.
This is after that. I'm pretty sure his fight with Gaicho was after that.
Yes, the fight with Gachio was definitely after that. And so what is happening in this one specifically is very much a timing thing. So the idea is that literally right here, we see Mista literally freeze. And so the moment that time resumes, the bullet has barely gone into his head. It's literally barely past that skin. And so Giorno touches it at that moment, meaning it can touches it whenever it's literally taking up whenever it's literally right there. Because like Giorno's ability is, to take a inanimate object and to create it and to turn it into life. So what he does is whenever it gets right there into Misa's head where it is, it's barely in there, but it is inside. He turns it into that part for Mista whenever it's literally taking out that part. It makes complete total sense.
Like, and this is like, we know, like, okay, we understand that a headshot is a kill shot, but we know that Mista has, like, survived headshots before. And like Mista's introduction as a fighter was against Kraftwerk, and he got shot in the head. But we know that he has the ability to use.
Wait, did Mista get shot in the head, or was it Kraftwerk that got shot in the head? Because I'm pretty sure it was Kraftwerk.
I think it was both. I think Mista got shot in the head.
I think Mista might have got shot in the neck. I don't think he got shot in the head in that fight specifically.
You're right, it was the neck, but you're right, it was the neck.
Why does Polnareff turn into a turtle?
Because everyone's souls were switched around.
He must not be. Guys, he hasn't watched the show. Stop ragging on him, man. He hasn't watched the show.
We saw other people get their souls switched with dogs. That's what Silver Chariot Requiem does to everybody. It fucks their souls all over the place.
I just saw this comment from Zach. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
You thought it was the best villain in JoJo, but it was me! Deal!
Deal! JoJo!
This is where the wackiness of JoJo's stops being cute for me. It is no longer a feature. It is now a bug. And this is specific to the manga, but holy shit. Araki's art takes a nosedive.
What the fuck?
What? It looks so good.
What are
Look
you
at that man's face.
Yeah, guy got fucked up.
He looks like that man's on fire. Like, what?
Here. The original manga is nearly
This is supposed to. What the fuck? Are you retarded? Seriously, you can see what's happening. Mista is shooting all over the place, and the bullets are ricocheting back into him. But at the same time, still hitting Gaicho.
Exactly.
I don't understand how you're fucked up with it. I mean, yes, color could help differentiate what's happening, but that isn't a problem with all manga, in my opinion.
It would also. I mean, like, it's definitely a problem, but it's mainly it's kind of actually a trade-off in the idea of manga, because manga is a lot different than most comics in that it's solely created by one person. There isn't a team of people working on it. Mm-hmm. So to make sure that one person can get more out, they have to kind of sacrifice the color, because the coloring would take a long time, especially for somebody like Araki, who wants to constantly change the color palette to suit the mood of what's going on. Yeah,
I mean, you got all kinds of, you got the
color would definitely help.
The line art, the inking, the writing, like coloring and getting all that out of the way does help get shit out faster. You're right about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Possible to decipher in most fights. I get that JoJo's has some high concept shit, but I seriously cannot tell what the fuck I'm supposed to be.
Did he decrease the resolution of the last pick and then show this in high def? Did he actually go to a site with low-res scans and then come to this?
Probably.
Wow. Like a disingenuous piece of shit. What the fuck?
Be looking at half the time. And everyone says that part 5 is cool because of the fights.
Yes.
The fights. But Marcus, the fights are so cool. Why do I care about the fights if I don't care about the story?
You've been given ample reason to care about the story. Mm-hmm. Even if you weren't to care about the story, there's also the fact that you can literally watch the fights just for the spectacle. It wouldn't be as good as having a good story along with that. But the story in part 5 is quite solid, and the fights are extremely creative, especially the very first one with the Rogue Passione member, the guy who has the ability to like deflate things. That fight was insane, and I never would have figured out what Bucciarati and everybody else figured out if I was given a million years to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like everyone else that watching the show, we'd all been just deflated, like, oh, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah, the idea that there were two boats, like
Yeah.
they revealed that, and I was like, oh boy, it was so crazy. It was so cool.
Or the characters that are in the fights. And to top all of it off, Part 5 is so goddamn long. Part 5 is basically just Part 3 again, except
No. They know who Dio is from the very fucking beginning. They know where he is. They have a very get from point A to point B. All they knew was at the first half of this was get Trish to Diavolo. After that, it was, oh shit, Diavolo is a murdering psycho.
Yeah, there were mainly like three different. There were three different. Actually, I think four. You could say four different main objectives. The first objective. Oh, hello, new person in the chat. Nice to meet you, man. Nice to see you in there.
Emil Man.
So there were.
Beast.
Yeah, it's Cosmonaut. But so there were four main different objectives in JoJo's Part 5. There was the objective of become a capo. Once the entire group had met up, they wanted to go get Popo's fortune. Second one was protect Trish and get her to Diavolo. The third one was figure out who Diavolo was, or at least some sort of form of identity of him, which they do at the beach. I don't remember the name of it, but they do it at the beach. From there, they get a message from Polnareff, and their goal is get to Polnareff and get the arrow.
Yeah, unlock the power of the Stand Arrow.
From there, there's the final goal of killing the shit out of Diavolo. Diavolo, however you're supposed to pronounce it.
Like, I don't understand how that's... Like, yeah, the end result of kill the bad guy is the same. I'll give you that, but... Like...
It was the same in Part 4, but he loved Part 4.
Yeah, it's like kill the bad guy at the end. That's just the same as Part 3, which makes Part 4 bad. This argument's great, guys.
you don't get a cool final battle. You get some Deus Ex Machina ass pull bullshit.
I would agree that it is a Deus Ex Machina in the fact that it is literally a item that drives the plot, but it is executed very well. We are given logical reasons, as well as has been shown many different times before, that this thing is something important in the story. And it's not
it's an item. Don't you call that a red herring?
Yeah.
It's a red herring if it doesn't affect the plot in any way, but I could be wrong.
It's like it's a distraction or something that doesn't actually.
Yeah, something like that. But the arrow itself is like, it's extremely useful to the characters, which is why it's a Deus Ex Machina. But it's been established in the past that these arrows are extremely important. It wasn't just like.
All right, so it's not a red herring. Yeah,
it wasn't pulled out of the ass. This was literally like the goal of the entire series. They were, or the second latter half of the series, maybe latter quarter of the series,
And they know going in that they don't know what the Requiem arrow will actually do. They know that it's a power up that they need because they cannot beat King Crimson without it.
Exactly. I would agree that it is, yes, a Deus Ex Machina, but just like any other.
Well, wait a minute.
Like any other tool in writing, as long as you use it well, you can execute it well.
It's not like you're not allowed to use a Deus Ex plot device. Like if you do it well, then yeah, if it works, then it's fine. Who cares?
I have a quick question. He liked Part 3. He liked Jotaro's fight with Dio. How is it's the same type of stand to Star Platinum, not a Deus Ex Machina? We literally had no lead up to Jotaro being able to stop time. The only similarity that Star Platinum had with the world
power
is
level
that it's
and
a
ability.
big, huge, punchy boy.
Yeah, the simple power level and what it was good at.
Yeah.
And there's so many instances of that throughout the series where things just kind of come out of nowhere without a setup.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of what you expect from JoJo, though.
Araki, yeah. That's just what Araki does.
Yeah, I would agree that Araki's writing isn't always perfect, but in this situation, it was more than well led up to.
Well, that's part of the charm to me, that there's things that don't get set up and they just kind of like come at you from left field. I think that's kind of cool. You don't have to set everything up.
It's kind of part of the bizarreness of the adventure, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, I mean, I guess part 3 kind of had that, but I liked it there, so it's different.
Oh, so you admit you're
Oh,
a
fuck
fucking
off.
asshole. You piece of shit.
This guy's a dope.
So he admits he's
Oh.
inconsistent.
Wow. Yes,
Guys,
Jojo.
guys, it's okay.
It's
Guys,
okay
it's okay.
when
I admitted I'm retarded.
I agree, Joe. I agree, Jojo. Yada, does it?
I just think that Jotaro teaching himself how to stop time through sheer force of will is much cooler than just getting a new superpower because the story needs you to beat the.
That's exactly what Jotaro did. That is exactly what Jotaro did. And there was more setup for Gold Experience Requiem than there is for Star Platinum the World.
And
Because
actually,
they know that
I remember something from the beginning of this.
Jotaro, a power up. They just didn't know what the power up would be. Sorry, go ahead.
I agree that there was definitely way more setup for the stand arrow, 100% in Giorno. There is a little bit of setup for the world thing though, because if you remember, I think it's at the very, very end of like episode 1 or 2. It's like at the very end of the one of the outro songs, I believe, in one of the very first few episodes. Dio actually talks about how, because of the fact that his body is now fused with a demon and a human's at the same time, it's gaining some sort of special connection with its ancestors. Because something along the lines of vampires aren't allowed to have children, and therefore, since this body has children and is partially a vampire, it's fucking with their biology and stuff. And so, if you remember, Dio has Hermit Purple, which is how people are always able to accurately find where the Stardust Crusaders are. Which means that the world is Star Platinum, basically. So it actually is set up. It's just very, very obscure and very quick and a bit fast and loose.
Okay. So what you're telling me is Hermit Purple the world could exist and Joseph could have stopped.
It's a possibility. But it seems kind of like the world is more Dio's stand that got passed down to Jotaro, and then Hermit Purple is more
Jonathan's stand
Jonathan's that was given Joseph's that was given up to Jonathan's body or something like that weird. Yeah. It's still a bit fast and loose, like I said. You still have to interpret quite a bit, but you're given some ground to work with.
Bad guy. And yes, I know that my personal circumstances and how I went about enjoying this series are different than other people's. A lot of people just got to watch the anime where a lot of the visual clutter is cleared up and a lot of the fat is trimmed. But the anime did not exist when I read it, and I am not about to go back and watch like fucking 40 episodes of an anime that I know I don't like. And yeah, I probably wouldn't be as mad or exhausted with the series if I hadn't tried to binge it in 2 months years ago. But at that point, JoJo's just wasn't fun for me anymore. I was not having a good time. But I still fucking finished part 5 because I told myself I would. And I heard part 6 was interesting. And I heard that Jolene was cool and, a unique JoJo for once.
Huh?
He's not going to substantiate it. Let's just go on.
But he said, like, part 5 was the one everyone hated, but part 6 is the one that's interesting. And Jolene's a character that everyone likes. That's literally backwards. How did you
I haven't actually read the manga from part 6 onwards. I really should, but we're getting into territory where
part 6 is actually really good. I think most of the problem is with the ending.
The ending? I gotcha.
Just how it ended, which I think is fine, but that's just me.
But it just wasn't enough. I think the final nail in the coffin was me forcing myself to read part 6 when I was genuinely exhausted with the series. The problem I have with JoJo's is that I love part 4 too much. I love it so much that I hate all the following parts for not being as good.
No,
well, that sounds like a personal problem.
The problem is you're a moron. That's what the problem is.
Well,
and yes,
there's no accounting for taste.
Of which he has none.
You have shit taste.
Not as bad as part 5, but it's still not as good as part 4. So I really didn't care. I didn't like a lot of the characters. I didn't really care about the story. There were still a lot of inconsistencies. But I finished part 6 out of pure obligation to myself, even though nobody told me to. And honestly, nowadays, I don't remember anything in part 6. I read the whole thing, and I can't tell you one thing that happens in it.
You can't. Oh, fuck. Oh my god. The most important thing for the JoJo universe happened in part 6.
Oh shit! All right, I'm gonna plug my ears.
It is why part 7.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure I know how part 6 ends. You can say it. I'm pretty sure it's
Okay.
like the universe gets reset or the timeline gets reset.
Yes, Poochie, like that's probably like part of the reason why people don't like part 6, because Jolene failed to stop Poochie from resetting the universe.
Yeah.
But that is like a super huge deal. The biggest deal in the biggest deal in JoJo. The universe reset.
I can understand not liking it in the fact that like, oh man, it's like these characters never existed in this world again, in the past. But it's a little bit different than like a Terminator Genesis, where the whole world is reset, where the whole timeline is undone due to hate. In this show, it seems to very much be because Araki was like, well, I've gotten up to our modern timeline. I don't want to do future stuff. I want to reset.
Yeah.
And
like,
Araki, it's not like those stories still don't exist and those stories still aren't important. Because those stories, from what I know in JoJolion, I'm pretty sure it's like an alternate reality part 4, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I know a little bit about the parts in general, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's
Beyond part 5.
Steel Ball Run and JoJolion are kind of like part 1 Redux and part 4 Redux.
Oh, really? Part 1 Redux? That sounds cool.
It's got a lot of it's kind of Steel Ball Run is kind of a mixture of the traveling like adventures that you'd get in part 3, but with like a lot of characters.
I kind of know that like there's like some sort of like race or something
Yes.
that's going on in part 7, and like they use literal steel balls and they throw those at each other along with their steel powers.
I love Gyro Zeppeli and his steel balls and the spin. The spin is one of the most interesting powers in fiction.
Dude, it sounds that way. I've heard a lot of people say that the spin is super cool.
Like
but I don't know what it is. So like I kind of want to, keep the information on the down.
Okay, I won't say it, but it is just like,
I appreciate it.
Like how do you do that? Like how do you come up with that?
Abstract
crack. I was so empty.
Cocaine, copious amounts of cocaine.
People just like that's where all cocaine springs from. Just like they just tap Araki every once in a while.
What do you call a mixture of cocaine, LSD, and frogs? Toads.
JoJo's cocaine fueled adventure.
Oh no, maybe he was on the nah, never mind. I won't go there.
It sounds like Joe Rogan's show prep, to be honest with you.
And just so very done with JoJo's. So this is where I tapped out. But for years, I told myself that maybe under the right circumstances, I might pick it up again. Because everybody swears on their mama that part 7 is godlike.
Yes.
But that
face is so beautiful.
Yeah, correct. Oh my god, Araki's art style took a nosedive. Look at this.
Yeah, how garbage this face looks. Like, come on.
Expect it happened.
I'm not gay, guys, but I would kiss that.
If I'm turning gay for anyone, it's young Joseph.
He could be my daddy.
Oh shit. Joseph Joestar is my favorite.
Yeah.
I love his style.
It's like part 7's the best part, but young Joseph is the best JoJo. I'll stand by that to death.
Got really popular. Back when I read JoJo's, I was lucky to find a single Dio cosplayer at a convention. And forget finding any physical merchandise in the States. The anime was just finishing part 2 and it was still kinda niche. But as years went on, people became fucking obsessed with this show. And JoJo's is huge now. And the fans are really fucking annoying. You see them everywhere pushing the series on people like it's their fucking Bible. Sometimes
it's almost like people like the show and are enthusiastic about it, and they like sharing things that give them happiness and joy.
I'm just reading this tweet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Like, you know what? Like, you know, this guy is right. Like James Charles. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck is
This thing-
James
Hey.
Charles?
Hey, sisters.
Oh, fuck. It was like, I'll watch a character that looks exactly like you if he has a cool like ghost man that punches things, but like just you doing your fucking makeup and being weird. No, what the no.
Like,
Menace to our girls. Everybody watching this, follow this guy. His takes are good.
one of the
Yeah,
one of the things that Cosmo did say, he said that a lot of the JoJo's fans are super annoying. Sorry, I keep stuttering a ton. But said that the JoJo's fans are really annoying. I find that a lot, and I mean a lot of the JoJo's memes that I see are from JoJo's fans, but I see a lot of memes that are just reposted by people who haven't even seen JoJo's in like Discord servers that I'm in and such. Because almost everybody who's in the anime community knows of JoJo's because almost everything references it. Hence the is that a JoJo's reference?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like people talking about like Dune. It was like, yes, everybody references Dune because Dune is that influential. Same for JoJo.
Yeah.
A lot of animes reference JoJo because JoJo's is very influential.
Anytime the fan base gets to a certain like critical mass, it just turns to garbage. Like it's like
I don't think JoJo's fan base has gotten there yet, but it's pretty close, I'd say.
Is it
Maybe-
worse than
it
the
might
Rick and
happen
Morty
part
fans though?
No.
No.
Oh,
Let's keep things in perspective here. Come on.
And holy fuck, My Hero Academia fans.
Oh my
Ugh.
gosh.
Oh fucking hell.
Sometimes I see some random jerk off on the internet saying that
Like, and this tweet and the response to it is not even JoJo. That's just anime in general.
That's like garbage, like fan service anime, where they're like, "Oh no, the girl with big boobs falls onto the protagonist's face or hands, or her butt falls on his face. Oh no, what a quirky and unique situation."
Mm-hmm. I was like, yo, stop watching hentai unless you're doing it specifically to jerk off, and keep watching hentai. But stop watching hentai.
No.
And,
Oh, wait.
and stop watching hentai and saying that that's all anime.
Well,
It's
yeah.
like going to Pornhub and saying, "Wow, TV is really weird."
So No Simp September just ended, so I guess you're free to watch all the hentai you want.
You say that like no sense.
Did you say no simp September?
It's like,
Yeah,
no,
man.
no, hentai is perfect because you're not simping. All those characters are not real.
It's
If
e-simping.
if only, boys.
Well, okay, you can watch it, but you can't get like a body pillow in the shape of a anime girl because that's like even more pathetic than simping.
Parked before in the morning.
It's like I'm absolutely though. I'm gonna buy a Tequila Joseph mousepad though. I want the fake boobs and everything where my arm will rest. That'd be perfect.
That would bring up so many questions. Like, I don't know if you do have a girlfriend or if in the future you'll get one. Like, if you ever get one in the future, she'll be like, "What is that? Who is that? Why do you have this thing of this girl?" And you'll be like, "Oh, it's not a girl. Don't worry."
Like,
And I think it may raise more questions.
Like, oh, babe, you want to know where this character's come from? Well, let me just pop in this Blu-ray. You will find out.
Let's analyze this figure real quick. You know how this is the ideal female body. you see the chiseled jaw, the insane musculature,
like the 6'6" height. Oh yeah,
the stubble.
Mm-hmm.
they don't like anime. And without fail, there's always at least one weirdo who says, "Hey, I know you don't like anime, but you should really watch."
Why is that a bad thing though? Like this person says all anime is weird. And then this person has a really good take. You saw one scene from some weird anime. Why don't you try something that's more popular and better structured, that has a better storyline, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
Yeah, and I would agree with that take in general. Like JoJo's I think maybe has like how many would you say for males? It probably has like there's the Lisa scene, which you can consider fan service for guys. And I think that's like the first one in the series.
But even then, it's not really fan service when you figure out who Lisa is.
Yeah. Especially if you also don't like her because of her teaching style,
Yeah.
like me specifically. But that's a bit more of a niche complaint. So that's like the first fan servicey scene. There's like maybe 2-ish fan servicey scenes in part 3, like the first introduction that we get to the magnet chick, where like it zooms in on like her legs and I think her boobs, and then there's also the scene where Polnareff is a child with that one lady in the bath.
Oh no! The weird episodes. No,
I don't even know that there is a fan servicey scene for guys in part 4 that I can think of. I don't think there's a single fan servicey. Actually, there is a teeny bit of fan servicey.
The only attractive female characters in that show are a ghost and a chick that fucking straps Koichi down and wouldn't let him pee until he got math problems correct. Like
that ghost girl is very pretty, to be fair.
Yeah.
She's really cute.
Raimi is absolutely cute. Oh, and Tomoko. She's kind of hot.
Oh yeah. Kira's wife. Kira's dream wife. And Kira's like her dream husband, you know.
Mm-hmm. Kira, the fucking mass murderer.
Let's acknowledge his real stand power. The ability to fix a home, guys. I mean, come on.
I mean, everything was going good. All that little kid had to do was just not butt into his dad's business, and
all the little kid had to do was realize that, hey, Kira's my daddy now. You know?
Yeah. It's like, why are you going around? You know what? It's like, hey, I didn't know all the weird shit my dad was into.
Oh shit!
Right? And I still don't. He took that shit with him to his grave. Like,
I was gonna make a meme, but you know, Yoshikage Kira was kind of like my dad. I never knew him personally. I stole that joke from somebody else, a YouTuber named Easy Peasy. I think that dude is hilarious.
Right. I like it. But yeah, Hayato, if you just minded your business, your life would have been fine. You would have had a nice, normal, calm, quiet life like Kira wanted. But no, you had to go snooping around. Little nosy little brat.
Dumbass kid.
Everything that happened was your fault.
Yeah, fuck you, son.
Watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why would you recommend that as someone's first show?
Because you're an idiot.
Why not?
You're an idiot that doesn't understand the show you apparently watched. I have to take your word for it, but your word is worth dog shit.
So, like, the thing that the person was saying specifically in the comment was JoJo's is the exact opposite of that. And, like, there's barely any fan service whatsoever. And the most fan service that there is like, for the ladies. There's, like, these buff, muscular, beautiful dudes.
Excuse me.
There's no pervy stuff in there. It's pretty above board.
Excuse me. The Pillarmen are absolutely fan service for me. I don't know.
That's true. The Egyptian gods of fitness. They're so good.
Oh yeah, I'd let Wamu absorb me any day.
I didn't know you were into that, but I mean, hey, each their own.
Oh god, as long as he doesn't just walk through me like Mark, like
you must be part of the Sonic fan fiction. Sonic people being into Vor and all that.
What have I walked into? What is going on? Holy crap!
Like, seriously, if you're gonna be a giant vampire man and eat me, like do me like the first German soldiers you encounter, where it's like just like that, and I'm just dead. Don't like, walk through me and leave me cut in half to just bleed out in pain.
That was pretty epic.
That seems so cool. This pushed me away from the series a lot more. Hey, read part 7, Marky. I know you don't like JoJo's, but you gotta read part 7. Man, leave me alone. All right, I don't want it anymore. At this point, I feel like my taste in shonen is done developing. Since quitting JoJo's, I've read a lot of shonen that I actually like a lot more than the good stuff that I enjoyed in JoJo's. And I don't think you can compare every shonen to each other, but since quitting JoJo's, I've
You want to pause it real quick?
Okay.
The Promised Neverland, despite the fact that I really like it, its first arc, especially the manga, it could be different because it might have more detail and stuff on how this stuff happens. But in part in season 1, because I think they're planning on making a season 2. In season 1 of The Promised Neverland, there's actually like 3-ish major problems. The first one being in the literal first episode. There's no way. Do you guys care about spoilers for it?
Oh no, you're good, man. Go
Because
ahead.
like this is literally episode 1, and it's like the end of episode 1. After that, the whole rest of the thing is based off this premise. But I mean, it's not too much of a spoiler. But so basically, they figure out that they're on a the kids figure out, the 2 kids that you saw figure out that they're basically on a human ranch. It's one of the things that he had shown in the background, one of the pictures. They figure out they're on a human ranch to be sold off to and eaten by demons, basically. And so they're like underneath this truck, and there's like, so if I were to paint a picture in my head, they're underneath the truck, and on say we've got a top-down view of the truck. On the right side of the truck is a wall. They can't really be over there. They can slightly fit in between the truck and stuff, but the demons can't fit in between that wall. It's a little too close to it. So the demons are on the opposite side of the truck, and the kids are underneath the truck, and one of the demons smells the kids. So the demon looks underneath. And even though the 3 different demons and a human are on the side of the truck, the kids somehow get out from underneath that truck, out of this huge opening that's like 20-ish feet back from where they are, without being seen. And it does not show us how that happens. It's like an objective problem. We have to know how that happens. Otherwise, the main character should have died there. So like there are problems that I agree that show is really, really good, but it does have some problems.
Like most shows have issues. Like
Yeah.
There's no perfect story because there are no perfect people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so there's gonna be fuck ups, but like everything he's pointed out is either a non-issue or applies just as much to the parts he hates as to the part he likes.
Oh, yeah, he's a total hypocrite.
He doesn't have a sense of consistency with his beliefs. It's very much I liked this, so this must be good, or I disliked this, so this must be bad. He doesn't really do much analysis.
A story that actually made me cry. And if you know me, media rarely makes me cry. And then the Hunter x Hunter anime came out, and it recontextualized what shonen meant to me. I don't know. That's just my personal taste. I'm not saying that you're a dummy for liking Jojo.
I just can't pause, which is why I ask you guys to pause for me. Hunter x Hunter is fucking amazing. I cried like 3 or 4 different times at it. This arc, the Command Ant arc, is a masterpiece. It's so good. That's all I have to say.
Going approval. I'll have to put it on the list.
JoJo's. I'm just telling you why I don't like it. If you like it, that's great. It's not a bad series. Just don't.
In spite of the fact that you just shat on every series,
He said that part 5 was like objectively garbage, I think, or at least he said part 5 is a pile of shit.
yeah, that's the latest part. You said that part 6 you couldn't care about it, and you
He said that he doesn't remember anything from part 6.
Yeah. Like, if you say a show is bad except for one season and a couple episodes in another, that's a bad review of the show. Like, if you have 1 out of 5 that's good, that's not good.
Well, I mean, I think that he enjoyed part 2 and then he thought part 1 was fine. So
Okay,
it's more of a middling, I guess, overall from his review.
Be surprised that some people don't like it. It's not a perfect series. And yeah, I think a lot of the wacky inconsistencies are part of the charm, but that charm just doesn't work on everybody.
I don't think he's named a
JoJo's
single. I don't think he's named a single inconsistency about JoJo's.
Yeah.
And there
And
are
we-
things that don't make logical sense.
Defending it.
Yeah, there are things that don't make logical sense in JoJo's, specifically the Avdol tackling Polnareff out of the way of that bullet scene.
Yeah.
But for the most part, JoJo's is very consistent on how the powers work.
Yeah, that's true. That's like the one consistent thing.
was like a bad ex. There was excitement in the beginning of the relationship, and there was a period of time where I thought I was in love, but things just grew sour for me, and I started to notice some traits that I did not like so much.
No, this is like shit you made up.
Dude, the fight with Gachio was so good. I don't know how he didn't like it. Dude, this fight was amazing.
Mm-hmm. But the only one that outdid it, in my opinion, is Green Day and Sekko.
Yeah, that fight was also super good. Part 5 has some amazing fights. The Grateful Dead one was really good too. Like, holy moly, Part 5 was amazing.
But in this analogy, like, oh, this is the great ex. Like, no, this is the girl that's too good for you that leaves you, and you're just making up shit.
No, this is the relationship that you yourself ruin with the person who's like too good for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, it was them, not me.
It's like, this is the bitch. You cheated on the perfect bitch, and then you're having to go along and make shit up about her that's not true just to make yourself not feel guilty about it.
Much. So am I ever gonna go and read part 7? I don't know. Maybe. It's possible, but it's not really a priority of mine. But I will say that every time you guys tell me to read it, I push it back by another year.
Look at those faces. They look so good.
I know. This motherfucker has people paying for him to be this retarded.
Dude, did you guys know that Araki is like I believe he was the first ever manga artist to have some of his paintings and stuff hung in the Louvre, which is like a huge museum over in somewhere in Europe.
Over in France,
yeah.
Yeah. That is how
I think that some of Miura's artwork from Berserk also belongs up there because he's got some amazing stuff.
But Araki's art really took a downturn after part 5 because Cosmonaut said so.
I agree. Cosmonaut was just right. I mean, in part 6, like I couldn't tell what a single panel was. It was just too messy.
It was just everything. I couldn't.
There was like black and white and like
lines.
Couldn't do it.
Like all kinds of people in weird positions and shit. Like, moving towards the end here. What's your stinger? I know you got a stupid stinger. Oh, he doesn't. Okay.
No.
Thank fucking Christ he doesn't.
Oh yeah,
All right.
Quick question since it came up. Have you guys seen have either of you guys watched Nikki Jakey's review of The Last of Us 2?
Oh yeah, I did. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was quite solid in most parts, especially whenever he was talking about the story. I think he could have been a little more critical on it, but overall, I think it was pretty good. They were.
I'm not pretty harsh on it, wasn't he?
He was pretty harsh on the story specifically. Yeah.
He said the gameplay was outdated, right?
I think he said their game design. I think he still said that he really liked the gameplay itself.
Oh, right.
It was a little. He didn't exactly talk about, at least from what I remember. Maybe I'm misremembering the video. I don't think he talked about specifically how the design was outdated too much, or maybe it was a small portion of the video that I just don't remember. But I'm not a huge fan of his in general. I just don't.
Oh, headphones came unplugged again.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, I have a meme that sums up that guy.
Let us.
All right, I'm back. But what I was saying was like, I'm not a huge fan of his comedy style, but he still had quite a few things that made me laugh in that review. I think overall it was really good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Share your screen, sir.
I'm sharing the screen. You gotta click on the thing.
What do I do?
Click on the other thing.
I don't know what's happening.
I'm clicking on your profile picture, but it's not showing up. What do I do?
Oh.
There it is.
There we go.
Is this? Yeah.
I like that. That's a good joke.
Very good. I like it.
Oh, I got another one. Where is it? Yeah, there it goes.
Yes. Thank you, Justin.
This is me the whole time listening to that guy.
Oh, wow. Is there anybody still watching us in the chat? What did you think of the coverage? Did you guys like it?
Yeah. Tell us your opinion.
Do you think we were retarded?
We can't possibly be more retarded than Cosmonaut Variety Hour.
I'm hoping.
Okay, so with that over, I think I might be back doing this again. There's a guy named Renegade Cut who has what looks like a really, really bad take on Fist of the North Star. Also, one of my favorite things, so I'm going to have to do this. So, yeah, either of you guys are welcome to join me again, if you like.
Are you doing that right after this, or just like sometime in the future?
Sometime in the future, yeah.
I got you. Just hit me up on Discord. Let me know. I
Will
enjoyed
do.
it. Quite a bit.
If I watch, I haven't seen Fist of the North Star yet. I need to watch it.
I gotta watch this of the North Star, man.
Yeah,
I haven't either. I definitely need to watch it. I assume it's the original.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because I know that there's like this 3D animated one that was released more recently, at the very
Yeah.
least.
Which is it's a very Cliff Notes version of Fist of the North Star, but it's fun to look at.
Oh, Inland Man is still in here.
Hey, thank you.
I appreciate the comment and how we allegedly made it bearable.
Terrible. Thank
It was
you.
excruciating for us too.
And I appreciate
For a little while there, I don't know if you guys could tell, but I was kind of like done. I was just like, I hate this.
Yeah. Like, what are you saying? What are you doing? Like, this is why, like, people shit on Mahler for his long content, but this is why he does it. Like, he writes
Dude,
shit.
you've been doing
out.
this for
He
2
thinks-
hours.
I know. This is just off the cuff. It's like when someone is that wrong about that many things at once, it takes a while to deconstruct the bullshit that they just laid out.
Yeah, I think one of the longest there was like almost like a 45-second, maybe a full minute section where we probably like listened to just like what he was saying, because he wasn't really making any claims about the show. He was at the very least just like talking about what he liked about it, and he was actually talking about a couple of like the strengths of the story. But he then, I'm pretty sure right after that, said none of the other parts have this, which we then like started going off on him.
Oh yeah. And Cosmonaut, get better at YouTube, please. For the love of God.
Well, it was cool
What
hanging
if-
out with you guys.
Yeah, it was good hanging out with you too, man.
Nice to meet you, Tanner.
Nice to meet you too, Joseph.
All right, everybody.
And thanks
So,
to the chat. Thanks,
Thank you.
Winger.
Winger, I'll see you on Tuesday, motherfucker.
Oh, I assume he's a friend of yours in real life.
Well, yeah, we have a live stream on his channel that we do,
Oh, I gotcha.
Wayncast. We enjoy it. It's kind of like this, except less structured, and occasionally we help show comic books for people.
Yeah,
I
go
got you.
subscribe before it gets banned.
Yeah. And when it does get banned, just watch on D Live. Call it good. All right, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Peace.